Age of Empires 2 was released in 1999,
I'm old.
and today we're going to play every version of it, including this terrible phone game, which frankly just gets more bizarre the more you look at it. The original release brought tons of new features to the RTS genre that cemented the series as the one to beat coming into the new millennium, and its subsequent success has led it to become probably the most well-known name in strategy, well, ever. Here, let me prove it to you. Hey Mum, I'm just recording a video. Can you answer a question for me?
Sure.
If you were to name one strategy game, what would it be?
Strategy game. Age of Empires.
Thank you. See ya.
Okay. Bye.
It's too easy. First try too. Age of Empires 2 was a massive deal because of how much it evolved the series and improved on its predecessor. Civilizations became much more diverse, with unique units and technologies that made them play differently from each other to a degree that the original game could only dream of. And graphically, all of them featured art sets that were a massive step up, with beautifully detailed 2D sprites and buildings that have gone on to become some of the most iconic, maybe in all of gaming. And gameplay-wise, the new expansive tech trees and refined mechanics, pathfinding, maps, and modes made Age 2 much more replayable than its predecessor, helping to give it the longevity that's caused it to be so successful, even to this very day, literally as I write this script. Because of its success, Age of Empires 2 would spawn many sequels, expansions, spin-offs, remakes, everything. And a lot of them, funnily enough, are just other versions of Age of Empires 2. So let's go take a look at them now, shall we? The first new version of AoE 2 came in 2001, with Age of Empires 2 for PlayStation 2, which, yes, is regrettably a real product. I actually owned this back in the day when I was 10 or so. I remember being pretty disappointed with my purchase, especially since it cost me like $70 or something when I was a 10-year-old in 2005. That's $6 million in today's money. Wouldn't you rather spend that on supporting your favorite YouTube creator on Patreon or YouTube memberships? It costs as little as $1 a month. Now look, the good thing about this version is that it's a full and faithful port of the original game to PS2.
Magnificent.
But the bad thing about this version is that it's a full and faithful port of the original game to the PlayStation 2.
Please, just kill me.
Content-wise, it had all the campaigns and skirmish modes, and you could even play multiplayer using a PS2 iLink cable, but playing the game itself, whew, it was rough. Like, look at this field of view. I think I'm legitimately going to be sick just looking at it. Controlling it was just terrible because unlike modern console RTSs that have, like, you know, controller mapped controls and one brain cell put into actually thinking how it plays, here you had a cursor which had to be moved around with the thumbstick. This meant that to scroll around, you had to actually move the cursor to the edge of your TV with the controller, as if you were using a mouse. Jesus Christ. Also, performance got really bad when the action started to heat up. It's strange to imagine that Age of Empires 2, looking like this, with this field of view, is performing poorly. Like, consider how much of the game is actually being shown on screen here at any one time. You gotta remember, this is the PlayStation 2 we're talking about here, and there's clearly a lot going on for the console to compute in the background. I mean, even in its heyday, the PS2 was considered to be the weaker out of its console competitors. This is the worst way to play Age of Empires 2. If you're thinking about trying it, for whatever reason, just don't. Age of Empires 2 for Java is a mobile spin-off of Age 2 for Java-enabled feature phones of the mid-2000s. Yes, if anyone's watching who was born in the last 18 years, a feature phone is what we called phones before they became, like, smart. You know, because they had features. This game is like most of the other versions, in that it really is its own thing that uses some recognizable game assets. It's very simplistic, there's only a few controls because like you're literally playing this on a numpad, and there's not too many game mechanics. But remember, this is the kind of phone that you'd be playing it on back in the day, with a screen about the same size as a chicken nugget. Oh, thanks. Delicious. Needless to say, I don't have a 20-year-old phone to show you this on, but playing it through a Java emulator, this is Struggle Street. The controls are unwieldy and the gameplay is simple. Whoever developed this clearly tried to amalgamate AoE 2 onto a phone. And I mean, like, to their credit, at least some of the core mechanics made the jump okay. You can harvest resources, but there's no food for some reason. And a lot of the same buildings are available, but most of them have different uses. Maybe we can find a mode here to show you what I mean. What do we play? What mode? Tutorial, random map, Persian. Okay, whatever, let's try that. Okay, so controlling your units is an absolute ball ache. They attack on their own, but there's no mini-map except for when it takes up your entire screen like this. So knowing where stuff is basically impossible, and I'm pretty sure you can't grab units when they're moving, so it's just really hard to know what anyone is doing. Oh, look, at least you can select all your units at once. Whoa, now it's almost playable. I'll admit that these unit sprites look okay, but why are the icons completely different and mismatched? Why are the icons for the swordsman and the cavalier versions of the camel rider? Like, what? Alright, whatever, maybe we'll have better luck at a random map. Let's go easy difficulty. Alright, I guess we'll get some resources from, like, somewhere. Where the hell are we, Antarctica? Apparently food just isn't a thing, like I said, so... Alright, let's find some wood. Yep, let's try that. Okay, well, even this guy doesn't want to be here, is yearning for the mines. God, I wish I was in the mines right now. Okay, so this is set to easy and the AI is already swarming me. Elite Samurai already? How? I've been playing for like 2 minutes. Alright, that's enough. I'm done with this game. Look, when I said the PS2 version is the worst version of AoE 2, I didn't count this one, because despite the name, this isn't really AoE 2. But it is bad, and I wouldn't recommend playing it unless you're morbidly curious. But even then, like, just why? I mean, I guess as a novelty it could be kind of fun. And I do see that as a 12-year-old at school, if I had my first flip phone, this could admittedly be kinda cool. Look guys, I got Age of Empires on my phone. Whoa. Though you could already do that with Age of Empires 1 on a pocket PC, and that was actually the full game, so whatever. The Age of Kings for the Nintendo DS might be the most shocking version of Age of Empires 2 out there, because you would have thought it would kinda suck ass, but it's actually good. Like, it's pretty good. It's a turn-based strategy game that's definitely more spin-off than port, featuring a handful of AoE 2 factions, units, buildings, and technologies. I respect this choice more than I would a straight port or real-time interpretation of the base game on the DS, because the turn-based format worked well for this console. The game features campaigns as well as a skirmish option, with the very base level goals and gameplay being the same as they are on PC. Or PlayStation. Ugh. You manage your town, you gather resources, advance through the ages, and destroy your enemy through military might. The turn-based nature makes the game a lot more relaxing and strategic to play, giving you time to think and plan out your moves much more effectively than if this was in real time, which would be a confusing, stressful mess. See the last game. But I'm serious, this is actually pretty fun. If you've got an old DS and an R4 card lying around, this is not a bad travel game for on the go, say if you're on the bus, on a flight, just lying in bed, or as a replacement to the back of your air freshener when you're sitting in the bathroom. Age of Empires 2 HD was a safe remaster of AoE 2 and the Conquerors that simply brought support for high-resolution monitors and Steamworks integration in the form of multiplayer and workshop support. Oh, and Steam achievements, I guess. Woohoo! Gameplay-wise, the HD edition really was a one-to-one adaptation of the base game. It's hardly even a remake, it's hardly even a remaster, it's basically just a re-release. I'd bet 99% of the codebase is exactly the same as before, just now with a bit of Steam integration and slight technical prowess injected in. There was new content added in later expansions though, with the Forgotten releasing just 7 months after the HD version. But the main value add of the HD edition wasn't content, as it didn't launch with anything new besides the opportunity of community content via the Steam Workshop. It was accessibility. With the release on Steam, suddenly millions of people could now play AoE 2 easily, either solo or with their friends, without a disc, and without any technical hassles of running it on a modern system. Just on its lonesome, Age 2 HD revived interest in Age of Empires by bringing in a bunch of new players, as well as providing a modern, growing, and most importantly, relevant platform for existing ones. It really was the little remaster that could, bringing the series into the modern age and setting the stage for an unprecedented growth phase, one that I'd bet we still haven't even seen the peak of yet. At the time of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition's release, I and many others were hesitant that we really needed another version of Age of Empires 2. The HD edition by that point was very well loved and established, and it pulled in impressive player counts month to month. But the Definitive Edition proved successful. Most of the player base did move on from the HD edition to the Definitive Edition, and it's only grown since then. Honestly, the series is in maybe the best spot now that it's ever been in. The big change DE brings compared to the original and HD editions is the full rebuild in terms of technology and visuals. Full support for modern systems, in-depth multiplayer with ranked leaderboards, Steam integration, and more. A graphical overhaul that stayed true to the original game while making it look significantly better, adding the ability to zoom in and out and increasing the fidelity of every aspect of the visuals. And thankfully the developers weren't scared to make gameplay changes that would improve the experience, like a global unit queue display, an improved user interface, automatic farm replenishment, and the ability to shift queue villages, just to name a few. There were also other things like a much improved AI that didn't rely on cheating to be more difficult, as well as the fully remastered soundtrack, which is awesome, reworked campaigns for all of the previous content from both the original game and the HD edition plus its expansions, and a reworked pathfinding system that was the best the series had ever seen. Though even today, that's still a topic of discussion, and it's receiving fixes and updates still like within the last month. I think Age of Empires 2 Definitive is one of the best modern remakes of any game and any genre, not just RTS, period. It plays and looks how you remember Age of Empires 2 did from when you were a kid, with the added simplicity of being able to play it the way you want, whether that's PvP ranked, co-op against the AI, or single player or co-op campaigns. And in my mind, it's one of, if not the, premier strategy games that you can be playing today. If you like what I do here, then you can support me on Patreon or YouTube memberships for as little as $1 a month. And you'll of course join legends like Dakayo, Wintendo, Bad Ghosts, Sean, Grey Spirit 4, Peter, Tim, George, Nedders, John Kaiser, Juan, King Thickums, Pavel, Bram, and Christian at the Cavalier tier, and Johnny, Marika, Eric, Age of Cause, Joe, and Tank at the Paladin tier. Thanks very much. And thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.